Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Black Heart sign and black and again asking you to hit that share button. Thank you if you have hit like or subscribe, but the share button is really where it's at. That's where we all benefit. And the message is more important than the messenger. We, SYSBM men and IPMOR men who lead the country generally have an idea that we're going to lead the plantation, SYSBM even geographically. And whatever skills and productivity we have, we're going to use to build a life, and we're going to do it with, we're going to do it with a quality woman from another culture. Probably from the same race, probably not, but definitely from another culture. That's right. Now, if you're going to leave geographically, understand this. When you do it, see, the idea is, many of you are thinking that you're going to do this and then you're going to set up your life, find your wife, and you're going to spit your sons out into this world, and they're going to get off to a good start. And when they reach your age, they're going to have their own skill sets, wives, and children. And the cycle will continue, and that's not a wrong thing to plan for. But what if you have daughters? You see, there is some way to get around this, and I want to get to it at the end, but right now, I want to point out that many of the newer SYSBM guys have not thought about this. If you go, see, many of you were saying, oh, we're just going to go anywhere. We're just going to take whoever. Wait a minute. Hold on. Slow your roll. Keep this in mind. Racism and colorism are global. White supremacy is global. Colorism is global. If you have your daughter in a country in which black women cannot find anyone, your daughter is still black. Don't think that because she's not ratchet that she's not going to be turned away from. She will be. And so depending on where you go. And this is going to make the difference. But many men I hear right now saying, I don't really care. I don't want to hear your advice, Black Heart, about where not to go and what women to not marry. Excuse me. If you're going to go somewhere where the people don't want black women because they're black, not because they're ghetto or ratchet, but because they're black, and you have a daughter, she's not going to find anyone. It's going to stop with her. And it won't be her fault. And this does exist. Now, like I said, in the U.S., black men are not driving away dark-skinned women as a whole. But in many other parts of the world, they are. In Europe, you got black men and white men. Well, mostly white men. They ain't going to give a chance to a dark-skinned daughter. You may get a black man with a European passport that lives in Europe, but then again, many of them may have already been chased away because it is still the West. If you are in Japan, Japanese men don't want melanated women. They ain't into that. They don't even hate you per se, but they ain't into that, and they ain't gonna marry you. The women will go after a black man, but they're not going. The men are not necessarily going to go after a black woman. So if you're going to do these things, at least look at who can she marry? At least consider that. Because remember, we're not leaving black women because they're black. We're leaving black women specifically that drove us away, the Western black women. The blackness was not the problem. It was the attitude. So all I'm asking is that we consider moving to places where the attitude of those men is not necessarily going to be automatically against marrying your daughter because she's black. And if you go into the Arab world, that is the attitude, unless you find a black Arab man. Even then, I don't know. The attitude of the Pakistani man, if you're going to go in areas like that, it is going to be against it if you find your fortune in India. Now, I've mentioned Southeast Asia before, and I'll say this, the African continent, it ain't really that big a deal. See, Edward was right about one thing. Men don't really start the colorism. In Ethiopia years ago, I asked about colorism, and this was back in the 1990s, so the word colorism was not there. But I asked about it. I asked if it was a big deal, and the men told me, no, that doesn't even make any sense. One man said, some women are beginning to talk about this because it makes a big difference to them, but to the men, it's nothing. We like them chocolate, we like them light skinned. We like them cute, that's the thing. We like them pretty. That being said, yeah, when that came out, when he told me that, I said, okay, so the women care more than the men. He said, absolutely. The women want to make themselves lighter skinned. They think they can't find husbands. But that wasn't true. I asked him, how true is that? And he said, that's not true at all. Because there are men that don't like light-skinned women. Then I asked some others about the bleaching when that came out, and it was always the same thing. It was the women that bleached, not the men. And then it came out in the Caribbean, same thing. It never started with male populations in these cases. So that being said, let me go on and go back to the subject. If you're going to go to Southeast Asia, I'll be honest with you, the men there I don't think they've even had the opportunity to discuss it or think about it. Can you marry a black woman? They don't seem to have, I don't know what they're going to say, to be honest with you. If we start having black daughters there in Southeast Asia, I don't know what the men would say when these daughters grow up. They could say anything. They could say, no, we're going to marry only Filipino, Malay, Indonesian. They could say that. They could say, yeah, sure. I mean, if I'm her type, then sure, we can talk about it. I don't know if they're neutral, against it, for it. I don't even think they've even had the idea in mind. Because, see, when the white folks colonized those areas, white women did not marry the men. They absolutely did not. And the men understood white women don't even see us as equal. They may not know what to expect from black women anyway. So I can't tell you what to prepare for. I can tell you they don't hate you there. I can tell you that. I can tell you that there is a respect, that the friendships are genuine. But I just don't know what to tell you to expect them to feel regarding the women. I just don't know. It could go either way. But do have a backup plan. Have one so that if you do have daughters, they're not just condemned to be by themselves, period, because they're black. Because, see, in the States, that's not why they're condemned to be by themselves. But in other parts of the world, this is a very real possibility, and quite a few of them, actually. So if you do have a daughter, have a game plan to find somebody, a good man for her. And I will do what I can, since I'm already here in the Middle East, to go to work against the global colorism that's there. But get the game plan together in case you got daughters, in case you have daughters later on. You don't want to find your boo in Japan. You don't want to do that. You find her in Japan. You stay in Japan. You have your baby with her, as an example. Your baby's a daughter. She grows older and ain't no husband. It ain't happening. They don't even hate her. They ain't marrying no black woman. Because they want a woman to look like powder. So you don't necessarily want that either, because your daughter is not going to be a ratchet. She's not going to be one of those sapphires, neck rolling, finger snapping, eye rolling, attitude having, slap a man in the face type bras that drove you to hell away in the first place. She's not going to be that, so why should she? Well, there it actually will be, because she is black. That's all it takes, melanin. It doesn't take anything else. 4C hair, that's enough. Full lips, that's enough. Wide nose, that's enough. It doesn't take anything else in these areas, believe me. Where I live right now, these men, they don't want to marry black women. Some want to screw them because of the bodies, but they don't want to marry them. But these women here, black and non-black, they'll take a black man if they can get along with him. Now, they ain't trying to marry them either a lot of times, but they'll take him if they can get along with him. I've had some of them start conversations with me And I was shocked. I wasn't shocked they noticed me or liked me. I was shocked that they started conversations with me. It tells you that in order to get your attention, they're willing to take risk even legally. That can happen. But that's for the men. They do not look twice at the black women that we work with. They don't do it. There's no hatred and there's no attraction. So they're actually invisible to the men here. You understand? So we do want to look at places wherein our daughters would have a shot. Because remember, SYSBM men are on each other's sides. And so it's perfectly okay that their sons and their daughters marry. That's perfectly fine, as it is a general rule. So get the game plan together, guys. I can help you to avoid places wherein the attitude towards black women is unfavorable because they're black. I know some of these areas, and if you know some, hey, look, inform the rest of us. But we need to come up with a list of places that we're going to, strike off because of the attitudes towards blackness or just towards black women. I think I've said enough. Thank you for being patient. The blackest man on social media signing black off. Assalamu alaikum, black male power just because they don't like it.